Hi, welcome from the scholar at Streetwise and Educated. The island of Madagascar, located in southeastern Africa, shown here by the circle and green arrow. For some, it became known after it was made famous by the 2005 movie Madagascar, and the subsequent movies that have turned this into a franchise. This leaves me wondering as to how much the country has benefited from tourism or otherwise with all that. Not that it's my business, I'm interested in what happened there the past few to several weeks. Ever since the COVID-19 pandemic started taking lives and destroying economies. What happened was the development of a herbal remedy by the island, which became a hot product overnight across Africa. While the Malagasy authorities have been praising their product, claiming the number of cases is low, there has been no deaths so far, the World Health Organization has been cautioning people about using such a product that doesn't have data to substantiate all the claims. Also, the African Centers for Disease Control were asking for the data. US politicians have criticized the organization as being sort of lenient towards China, which led to President Trump withdrawing funding to this global health organization. With the WHO in the spotlight, the Malagasy president, Andry Rajoelina, did not hesitate to condemn the organization as being anti-African. Other African leaders or individual activists also joined in, airing their profound rejection or opposition to the organization. Some have been calling for its boycott. With this presentation, let's analyze the situation and see who's right and who's wrong. Malagasy corvidorganics treatment. Is it a rush for gold? There is a warning from history. Corvidorganics is neither a suspension nor a tablet nor a capsule. It has been described as a herbal syrup. I also do not know whether there is information provided in the product relating to the dosage, because in a population, individuals have different sizes and different weights for sure. In the news and on social media, with images of the Malagasy president and others drinking it right from the bottle, a number of delighted Africans have been praising this product as a positive development in their continent. In early May, the Malagasy authorities started sending shipments of this corvidorganics product as donations to countries like Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Then other African heads of states from countries such as Equatorial Guinea, Tanzania, Kenya, and Nigeria started ordering this herbal remedy in bulks. The Nigerian authorities were reported to not only have ordered the remedy, but they also did involve their scientists in analyzing the product before making it available to the public. Other countries appeared to just have accepted the remedy without questions. Amid this crisis, it feels like a gold rush. Maybe you have heard in the news or read on social media that everywhere they are working on a vaccine or on a medical product, a drug, there's this talk about clinical trials. Well, clinical trials answer two questions. The first one is the drug safe? And the second one is, does it do what it's supposed to do? This is called the proof of concept. You can't just say a drug works. You have to prove it. The World Health Organization in Africa, besides cautioning people against using a remedy that wasn't tested in clinical trials, did call a meeting that was attended by African traditional medical experts virtually. That was sometime in May. The aim of this gathering was to discuss these issues surrounding the herbal remedy. The experts did agree in the end and concluded that for a product to be acceptable, it should be studied, tested in trials, with data generated from that. Another issue of concern to the World Health Organization is the impact of this new indication on the fight against malaria, because Artemisia Annua, the plant from which this herbal remedy is made, has for years been used to produce a malarial drug. To be specific, it's medication against Plasmodium falciparum, the most resistant type of malarial parasite out there. We can draw an analogy with penicillin, which for years has been used against bacterial infections. You might have been advised often not to use it against illnesses for which it wasn't meant. If you use such a drug often, chances are they would end up in the garbage bin and bacteria would adapt to it and become resistant, which is not what we want. Considering the situation with this corvidorganics syrup, I've seen videos or images of people in the media, Malagasy or otherwise, sipping or gobbling it up right from the bottle, just like beer or any soft drink. Now, imagine having drunk this syrup from the bottle and the bottle ends up in your garden or some valley in town. Then next you have mosquitoes breeding in that bottle. What do you think would happen to the malarial drug made from Artemisia? That's when we talk of resistance. The Plasmodium parasite would adapt to the medication and become resistant to it. The other problem that could come out of this situation is with tolerance. You see, as I said earlier, in the media they have been sipping this drink from a bottle. Then let's say you have been treated just by sipping this drink, and then the next time you might need twice as much dosage. If that were to happen, that would be a really serious issue. With the major health organizations in the continent not readily showing their support of the Malagasy product, the president was upset, but he showed up in the media to answer questions about the remedy. He did mention that the remedy was studied by the Malagasy Institute of Applied Research. It has been in existence since 1957 and did collaborate with a number of research institutes worldwide, including in the US and elsewhere in Asia. If you check them out online, you would find citations relating to that institute. He also talked about the content of the product. It's dissolved in water, 80% is herbal, the remaining 20% has been kept a secret in line with the protection of their patent. Further, he talked of the healing rate of this product. Out of 171 infections, 105 were cured as of 11 May 2020. There were no deaths. And the other highlights were that the product is used for prevention as well as cure, and that patients recover after 7 to 10 days. Lastly, the product is natural and non-toxic, so they have been advising people to use it. The president also did talk about the origins of the plant from which this herbal remedy is made. That's Artemisia. It is nothing new. It has been in use in China for centuries, and the Chinese have studied it. However, he didn't mention that this plant is also the source of artemisinin, which is used in fighting Plasmodium falciparum. That's what we have already discussed. It might not have been relevant in the topic they were discussing anyway. Moreover, he talked of the validation of the product, which was in line with acceptable guidelines, and that protocols were available, which were properly studied. Further, he stated that the product was made according to universally accepted ethics. Then, on confirmation from the professor working on it, they decided to go ahead with the production of the remedy. But, as he did stress, the good news is that it saves lives. Ignore the WHO or any European health organization for that matter. that some would accuse of working against the interests of Africans. Anyone, say an African scientist with the knowledge of pharmaceutical industry experience, would agree with me that a medical drug is not a beverage. Using it is linked to accountability for what happens afterwards. There are laws and regulations that companies adhere to in the pharmaceutical industry. Before registering and marketing their drugs, a company has to show that its drug is safe and that it works. And how do they do that? They do their research and produce the data to the regulatory authorities. There are guidelines to follow. So every company has just got to do it. You just don't decide coming up with your own rules and expect your product to be loved. Companies worldwide have been using those rules year in, year out, and their products are being registered. Those rules were also applied to common painkillers like aspirin and paracetamol. Why should an African institute or company then not do as everyone else? Drug regulatory authorities in general can be really tough, just like a tough nut to crack. Furthermore, forget about the notion or allegation that an African product is being rejected by the World Health Organization or any European organization. In the West, anyone claiming to have a cure amid such a crisis, that is, a fast cure without the necessary research details, is seen as the enemy. Because in this situation, they are the opportunists. The person or company might have a product and they will be covering up any information relating to side effects just to make profit. And why are the authorities or everyone concerned with side effects? Because they can be life-threatening or life-changing. In the history of the pharmaceutical industry, the thalidomide disaster is of significance with regards to this matter. I will look at this next. The thalidomide disaster, which I presume the Malagasy scientists are aware of, is one from which every pharmaceutical company learned a lesson. So where did this drug come from? It originated from West Germany, from the company known as Chemie Grunenthal in 1957. It was used as a mild sleeping pill and against morning sickness, especially in pregnant women. Currently, the drug has found some use against cancer, and it is considered safe after several years of studies. What you see here are the 2D and 3D structures of the thalidomide drug. On the upper right, written using lines, that's the 2D structure, and the 3D structures are those with the black backgrounds. This drug, when chemically synthesized, appears as two molecules in solution. One of these has the R, while the other has the S configuration. These molecules are mirror images of each other, but when you place one on top of the other, they don't match because it's like placing the right hand on top of the left hand. These are called stereoisomers in organic chemistry. Each molecule has a distinct function. The R configuration is sleep-inducing, while the other, the S, causes deformation. It appears the drug wasn't properly studied before it was released to the public. When the drug thalidomide first became available to the public, it was sold as an over-the-counter drug, meaning anyone needing it would just walk into a pharmacy and buy it without any subscription required. That was in 49 countries. There was only one country that didn't allow it, and that was the US. Back then, the FDA, an official there, wanted to see data regarding the effects of the drug on the pregnancy. Because there was none, she rejected it. And in the period from 1957 to 1961, cases of deformities were reported in newly born children. It was an alarming thing because the numbers of cases were in the 10,000s in each country where the drug was approved. With mounting cases worldwide, the company decided to withdraw the drug from the market. License holders too had to stop production in those countries. Considering this situation, we have seen that the FDA made the wisest decision. No pregnancy data meant no registration of that drug. The regulatory authorities in the other 49 countries did not bother. They all just accepted the drug without any questions asked. The regulatory authorities in all those countries accepting this corvidorganics should actually have been asking the same question. What is the effect of this syrup on the pregnancy? Do we want another generation of deformed children or deformed people? Go online, Google for the drug thalidomide, and see for yourself what it did to all the victims. Following the thalidomide disaster, big changes came in the pharmaceutical industry, especially with regard to the laws. It started in the United States, where two senators, Kefauver and Harris, fought to have laws changed in the country with regards to the registration of new medicines from pharmaceutical companies. From then on, a company has to show that its drug is safe and that it does what it's meant to do, which is the efficacy, before the drug is marketed. Further, the company has to follow up their drugs and make sure they report on any adverse events relating to the drug. That is, after it has been registered and the public is already using it. Other companies worldwide also followed suit, and so that has been the state of affairs globally. To emphasize, the thalidomide disaster serves as a historical warning or lesson from which others could benefit. For sure, the drug wasn't well studied for the producers to notice that one of its forms in the chemical mixture causes defects in the unborn child. Studies over the years later revealed that from day 20th to the 37th of the pregnancy, that is when the drug causes deformities in the fetus. Therefore, drug companies should ensure that their drug is not only safe to members of the public taking it, but also to the unborn child, that is, in pregnant women. We could pose this question: who would be blamed if several months from now those taking COVID organics start showing some side effects, perhaps serious ones? And should those nations that have been sent this remedy as a friendly gesture then ignore those side effects? How about any compensation if that's needed? Regarding the condemnation and rejection of the World Health Organization, I don't think that's the right thing to do. Unlike the Americans, the developing countries in Africa need this organization. Unless it's an ego thing manifesting itself into anger, there isn't any reason for this belligerence or potential boycott of this organization. The WHO is neither a drug regulatory organization nor a government. It's just playing its part, giving advice relating to the health of people in the continent. It has nothing to do with what has been said, Africans versus Europeans, or whatever conflict people are concocting. It is an international organization. Let me conclude by looking at what Africa as a continent needs with regards to the fight against diseases. That's now, and looking into the future. The first thing I've got to say is that the continent needs a center for collaborative research. There could be various research institutes or universities working on their own small-scale research, but there isn't any big one that would look into future diseases like such viruses. An organization that would look at the big picture. There could be viruses or other organisms lurking out there that would strike at any moment. We would be a step ahead if someone studies them and thinks of medication against them. Second, with this situation whereby anyone is in need of medication against this COVID-19 illness, people should stop all these false stories about philanthropists like Bill Gates or any organization that is working towards dealing with the current pandemic. Bill Gates is involved in funding an organization, a coalition of organizations, but it's not him alone putting his funds in that organization. Other governments and multinationals are also involved. They are well-meaning organizations, not ones with ill intent as others might think, or have been made to believe by those conspiracy theorists who are agents of hate using fake news. Those organizations have been funding an underfunded sector of the society, which is research. There are two ways to get immunity from the COVID-19 illness. The first is to get the illness itself. Problem is, we don't know the long-term effects on the lungs or the body itself. The second one is to get a vaccination. I would prefer this one. So stop discouraging people about this vaccination thing. Third, the continent needs a major drug regulatory authority that's not linked to any government, but it operates independently. In such a big continent where we have democracies and dictatorships, it would be a challenge to agree on such a body. But once it's there, it will be a relief to the millions of people in the continent. Any medicine or drug entering the continent would be analyzed by such a scientific body. Thus, getting the medicine to the public would be based on science and ethics, not emotions and politics. This would keep opportunists away. I'm sure there are regulatory agencies or authorities in most countries in the continent, mostly the ministries of health, but from what I'm aware of, fake drugs do enter most countries, which result in patients dying, and that would be the case if nothing is done about it. So why not do as the EU does by having a major drug regulatory authority that acts as a watchdog continent-wide, would save lives. That's all, folks. If you have anything to say or add to what has been discussed, or if you're fuming with discontent after hearing the truth, please do not burst, stay calm, and just leave a comment.